All right, I'm going to be discussing The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. Now, I have it as part of this four novel set. This was put out by the Library of America. They actually have three volumes. I have the first one. I got this, I think, back in 2008. And I really need to get the other two volumes and add them to my collection. Um, but I haven't read a lot of Philip K. Dick. I do like him a lot. I've read these four. Okay, Man in the High Castle, Three Stigmata, Palmer Eldritch, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and Ubik. And I've read A Scanner Darkly, and that's it. Those are the only novels I've read. So this is actually a reread, but it's been about 15 years, I think, since I read this, maybe 16 years. I don't know, it's been a while. So I will not be discussing the Amazon series. Okay, I'm just going to talk about The Man in the High Castle, the novel. I watched like the first four episodes of that show when it came out, and it didn't grab me. I wasn't interested in it. I like the novel, and so that's where my knowledge is at. So, what is this book? It's a meta narrative. Okay, when you look at this and you think, you look at the premise and you go, yeah, this is a book about, it's an alternate history where the Axis powers won World War II and are occupying the United States, right? So Dick published this in 1962, October of 62. The story is set in 1962. Philip K. Dick was living in San Francisco when he wrote the novel, and most of the book takes place, well, a lot of the book takes place in San Francisco. So as you can see, there's this weird meta thing going on already. Only, we'll talk about how it gets even more than that. So a lot of people look at this novel and they go, well, that could never happen. There's no way that Germany could have occupied the United States. They don't have the manpower, the resources. I've seen people say this. They say Imperial Japan couldn't do it, so the book's fake and I'm not going to read it. Well, that's not really what the book is about. I mean, on the surface, yes, but we're talking about an alternate reality here, okay? We're playing with, the nature of reality and what is true. It's kind of like what's really at the heart of this novel. So yes, we are dealing with an occupied United States, and there's a little strip in the middle at the Rocky Mountains where the Imperial Japan occupies the West and the Nazi Germany occupies the East all the way up to the Rockies, and that's kind of like the neutral zone. And we do have one character that lives in the neutral zone, which is Juliana Frank, okay? She is the ex-wife of another character named Frank, who he happens to be a Jew who's disguising his identity because of the Nuremberg codes. If he was to be discovered, he would obviously be, the final solution would be in effect for him. So he's kind of trying to hide his ethnicity. And there's a lot of, this is one of the other things that's going on. There's many characters in this book that are not what they seem on the surface. So again, question the nature of what is true. And I'm not going to give away who's what and where and all that stuff about who's really who they are and who's not. But I'll go through the cast of some of these characters here. We've got Robert Children. He is a antiques dealer. It's really Americana that he's dealing, okay? He is an American who's living in the occupied territory in San Francisco, and he deals American pop culture items to the Japanese and antiques like American Civil War pistols and whatnot. And so again, we have a whole other layer of what's real and what's not when we're questioning the items, because we're dealing with fakes. We're dealing with what gives an item value. Is it the oldness of an item or where it was used? What makes an item valuable? What gives it worth? What they say in the book is woo, right? Because this book is really into like the Chinese mysticism. So we get the Book of Changes. The Chinese Book of Changes is a big part of this novel, the I Ching. Okay, so here's a whole other meta layer. We have many characters in this novel that consult this Book of Changes, and they do this. It's a book of divination, okay? It's an oracle, and you consult it by casting lots or casting coins, and it gives you a hexagram, and then you look it up in the I Ching, or the I Ching, the book, and it gives you, your prophecy or your fortune or whatever. And so we have several characters that use this, but Philip K. Dick was actually using the book at the time. He started using it in 1961. He would later disavow it. I think in 76, he had an interview where he said that it was, that he consulted the book and asked it if it was the devil, and it said yes, and so he didn't trust it anymore. He stopped using it. Said that it was full of lies, that the thing lies to you. He said it has a personality, but it lies to you, so he didn't trust it anymore. So that was later in life, though. But at the time, he was using it. So for plotting, when the characters in the novel cast their hexagrams, they cast their coins or whatever, he actually did that. So the prophecies that they get are what he did. He did that to give them. So this book is plotted by, chance, random chance, whatever you want to believe, by the I Ching itself. So it's weird. It's meta, right? Like, again, because we then find out that there's this other book. There's a book within the book. So as we are reading this book about an alternate United States in 1962, okay, so we have Philip K. Dick's writing this. There is a character within the novel named Hawthorne Abinson, who is an author, who has wrote a book of alternate history depicting United States winning, or the Allied powers winning, World War II. So you're like, what? And you would think, okay, so we have a book within a book with a character that's using the I Ching to write his book, and Dick is writing his book using the I Ching. Do you see how weird this is? I mean, it's crazy. But his book, The Grasshopper Lies Heavy, which a lot of the characters in the novel have read or they are aware of, it's actually a banned book in the East, but the Imperial Japan kind of lets people read it, like they don't care so much. And I haven't even gotten to really talking about the characters in this other than Childen at the beginning, the antiques dealer. But yeah, a lot of people don't get the ending of the novel, okay? But Dick, like, the I Ching determined the ending of the novel. And if you think that this book is just about, like, an alternate reality, that's not really what the book is. There's this whole chapter 15. I'm not going to go through all the characters. Well, maybe I will real quickly. We got Victor Baines, who's a Swiss plastics mold guy who is coming to San Francisco to talk to Nobusuke Togami. Nobusuke Togami is a high-ranking trade official for the Japanese government who's going to meet with this guy because they're trying to get into, some of those plastics and whatever, but maybe things are not what they seem there in that relationship. Then we've got Juliana Frank, whose husband, Frank is a Jew in hiding, so he's hiding his identity. Then Juliana Frank meets up with a character. She's living in Carson City in the neutral zone. She meets up with a character named Joe Cinadella, who is he was an Italian guy who fought for the Axis powers for Italy. But again, maybe things aren't what they seem in this relationship either. So this whole thing is about questioning, like, what's true. It's really what the book is. And the book has like an ending that's like, what? And I think it throws a lot of people for a loop, and a lot of people finished reading the book and they're just like, this is stupid. This ending is dumb. I actually think the ending is one of Philip K. Dick's better endings, at least from what I've read. Okay, I like the ending of this novel. The first time I read this, I was like, what's going on here? It's kind of like the first time you watch the Chris Nolan movie, The Prestige, and you get to the end of the movie and it just does a total like mind bend on you and you're like, what just happened? And you kind of have to piece everything together and go back. That's what this book does. I will say that in chapter 15, I think it's chapter 15. Okay, there is that's a Togami. Something really weird happens to Mr. Togami, and he has like a that's like the very end of the novel. Pay attention if you read this. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but pay attention because he has this experience due to an item, okay, like a trinket, a handmade item that contains what he calls woo. It has woo, which is kind of like a whatever it is. It's like a holy object. So, at least in Eastern mysticism, if something has woo, then it has like divine revelation. It can alter reality or alter your reality or whatever. And there's this very mystical experience that happens there. So pay attention to that if you're reading it because it's very, very important. And if you just read over it, you don't really pay attention to what's happening to Tagami in chapter 15, then the end of the book isn't gonna, you're not gonna get it. I think that's the problem. I think a lot of people read that and they don't pay much attention to it. But it seems to be another reality. So we have this book's reality, which is the Axis powers winning. The book The Grasshopper Lies Heavy, which is an alternate reality where the Allies win, but it's not our reality, okay? Because there's not a Cold War that exists between the United States and the Soviet Union. It's a Cold War between the United States and Britain. So it's not our reality of the Allies winning. It's totally different. So we already have two realities, and then we have a possible third reality with Togami's vision or his mystical experience and what's going on there. That's all I'm going to give to you. I love this novel. I know a lot of people don't like it. They don't get it. I think it's great. I give it 5 stars. I think it's one of the better Hugo winners that I've read. So I read Ender's Game, but I read the 2 Orson Scott Card books, and I don't like them at all. In fact, I will never read another Orson Scott Card book because I think both of his Hugo-winning novels, Ender's Game and Speaker for the Dead, I just didn't care for them. I think Joel Hadelman's The Forever War, I didn't like it. I think that this is, I don't know. I don't know if I like Starship Troopers more than this or if I like this more than Starship Troopers. I like Starship Troopers in this quite a bit. I think Dune won a Hugo, so I'm like basically 3 and 3. I got 3 Hugo winners that I like and 3 Hugo winners that I think belong in the rubbish pile. So, yeah. I guess that's going to end my review. I could go on, but I don't want to spoil anything about this novel, really. I don't want to give it away. I just want to say this book's very introspective, and as you read it, you'll have questions, and that's what it's about. It's really meta. It's probably the most meta thing I've ever read in my life. I know that the Dark Tower is going to get meta because I know at some point something happens that I'm already aware of. So, but we're dealing with alternate realities and stuff, and I think that Philip K. Dick said more in 229 pages, okay, than Stephen King has said in thousands and thousands of pages of The Dark Tower. Come at me, bro. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.